Hello, hello, and welcome everybody. Thank you so much, Stephen, for that amazing welcome and introduction to the developers track of SmartCon here. We are incredibly excited to be working and talking about this next section that we're going into, which is what's new in Chainlink. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Patrick Collins. I'm a developer advocate on the Chainlink Labs team here. This is what I love to do. I love working with smart contracts. I love coding. I love developing, and I love doing kind of everything that this industry has to offer. And I'm really excited to be talking to you guys about what's going on, what's been happening in the Chainlink ecosystem. What are the tools that have come out from Chainlink to make your lives as smart contract developers easier, better, and faster? So for those of you who don't know, just a quick recap about Chainlink and the smart contract connectivity problem. Why are we here? What does this technology do? So these smart contracts, as we know, are these amazing technologies, but they have this fundamental flaw, right? They are walled gardens. They kind of have to stay in their lane. They're deterministic systems. And this is intentional. This is by design. So in order for them to talk to the real world, they need what's known as blockchain oracles. Now, a single oracle by itself isn't the whole picture and doesn't solve this issue. You need a decentralized oracle network as well, because you need to have your logic settlement layer on a smart contract platform decentralized, and your data or external computation layer decentralized as well. And as Stephen was saying, this gives rise to these incredibly mind-blowing applications called hybrid smart contracts that combine this fantastic power of this on-chain settlement layer with the external data and the external computation to allow engineers to build unlimitedly customizable applications and smart contracts in any way, shape, or form. So with that being said, if you've been asleep for the last 6 months, we're going to give you an update on all the amazing things the developer world has had to offer as far as Chainlink goes, and all the different developer tools and Oracle pieces and Oracle infrastructures and Oracle technologies. And to kick us off, I'd actually like to introduce Melodi, the head of developer marketing at Chainlink Labs, who is going to be talking to us about the community and celebrating all the things that the community has done, because at the end of the day, it's you, the developers, it's you who are building this amazing future and building all these fantastic tools with technology and with Chainlink. So with that, I'll hand it off to you, Melodi.
Wow, thank you, Patrick, for the great introduction. And I just want to say that first off, before starting, if you want to see my cats and dogs, make sure that you follow me on any social media platform, because you're bound to see my cats and dogs. It's just going to happen. So hi, everybody. I'm Melodi. I'm leading our developer marketing team here. And today we're going to talk about what you folks have been doing in the last few months. But first off, I wanted to talk to you about why actually companies started to care about developers more. So we're going to get into some kind of we're going to just summarize what happened in the last 30 years. And I'm sorry if it's going to bore you to that. So just please stay tuned and bear with us. So with that, we can actually get the first slide. So we now live in a platform economy. A shift has happened. And this is a shift from the, move on to the next slide, please. This shift is from products to platforms. And what I mean by this is that used to, in the 1970s, good old days, companies would actually have very linear relationship of communicating with their consumers. So you can see that on the slide, there's a traditional value chain business model. And in this model, you have the company producing stuff, distributing it, and marketing it. And at the very end, there's consumer using the stuff, hopefully, and there's not really a continuous relationship. But moving to platform, previous slide, moving to platform-driven business model, we actually have the platform and the company here and the ecosystem on the other end. And these are in continuous connection. So there's a two-way relationship and they connect to each other all the time. So you have in the ecosystem side, you have your developers, publishers, any kind of players that you can think that are actually in this value creation. Moving to the other slide, and Chainlink is a platform for decentralized Oracle networks. Now that we talked about, there has been a shift and we have moved from products to platforms. And we're just also established that Chainlink is a platform for decentralized Oracle networks. But what does it mean? Why am I talking about this? And how does this relate to you? Why are you in this presentation right now? So moving on to the other slide, I want to explain that products have futures and platforms have communities. I keep quoting this professor from MIT. He's awesome in the platform economy research. So if you want to check that out, please do. So what this means is that in today's world, even if we had the best product as Chainlink, even if we didn't have you talking about it, developing with it, building with it, and using it, it wouldn't matter. So we would not really matter, and we would not be actually having this conversation with you if we would not have SmartCon. Because in today's world, if you want to succeed as a company, as a platform, you have to have communities. And when I say communities, I also obviously imply our great enthusiast community. So it doesn't have to be specifically technical in that sense. But to survive in this as an emerging technology company, we need developers too. So with this in mind, I want to talk about at Chainlink how we actually do our developer community. So moving to the next slide, you're going to see that we have 3 pillars, namely events, open source, and community, and these are always interrelated. So I might be repeating myself, apologies for that. And you've done some great things in the last 6 months or 7 months or 8 months. I think we're in August, so 8 months, I'm gonna say. And we wanna appreciate this, and we wanna recognize these great things happening in the community. So let's start with events. And so I want to highlight some of these activities that we've done in this last year. And the first one is the Chainlink Spring Hackathon. So we had over $125,000 in prizes, which is impressive. We had over 140 projects submitted. But as a community person, what I want to highlight is that 30% of the participants to this event were actually newcomers to the industry. And this is huge because if we are in emerging technology, we're not going to have someone who's been actually doing blockchain for the last 30 years because it did not really exist before. So we need to welcome newcomers, and we need to actually help them upskill themselves and help them get better at this technology. So this is why we actually really cared about this. And I want to say that maybe stay tuned for Patrick's presentation because he might have some news for you about this hackathon. And the other event that I want to talk to is Developer Starter Kit Showcase. And this was, we asked our developers, we asked you to create cool stuff, amazing stuff using our starter kit. And as a result of, after a month, we actually highlighted picked some of these great, cool, awesome projects. And we had this project owners in a live stream with us presenting their amazing use cases, amazing projects to the audience that we have all across the world. And the last one is the Smart Contract Developer Bootcamp, which is something that I really feel really close to because this was something happened in my time at Chainlink, and I joined just 2 months ago. Though it feels like a year, I want to say that when we were planning this event, we actually thought about reaching, training probably like 300 developers, but we had a pleasant surprise, and we had 5,000 people actually signing up for the event. And as a result of great work from our developer relations team, we actually managed to train over 1,000 developers. And this was a really supportive, creative environment during the bootcamp. We had this over the month of July, and we provided over 20 hours of content for free to help our community to get better. And the second pillar is open source. So moving on. When we talk about open source, this is something that we take really seriously at Chainlink. And open source and developer relations, you might know that we open source our documentation. So that's something that's a really big move from our end. And whatever we do in developer relations is to help us give you the better developer experience. So whatever we're doing, we wanted to shorten this loop of feedback. So we wanted to get closer to you and get out more useful stuff for you. And we also have a program called Chainlink Grants, where we actually reward open source projects. And till this day, we had over 50 projects who received grants from our program. And you might also see that these announcements every week on our website. We're announcing new grants every week. And today there's a special announcement for a very exciting grant, so stay tuned for that. And you might be aware that we have over 1,000 repositories on GitHub using Chainlink. So if you just search for that tag, you will see all of those amazing stuff. And open source is really, almost really close to transparency. So that's one of the reasons why we actually wanted to we are actually celebrating being open source, because we want to be really transparent in everything we're doing. Moving on to the community, which is community itself. So we're talking, but it's a little interconnected at this point. I want to talk about what you have been doing and why you have been so amazing. So if I'm saying something wrong, just reach out to me. So on Discord, we have a huge community, over, I think, like 20,000 people. And it's such an active community. If you ask a question, you're bound to receive an answer. We have really great champions within the community who are helping each other. And on Telegram, it's more of a place where we use it to just stay up to date. And we have over 37,000 people there. So if you're a member and if you're not checking it for an hour or for a day, you're going to wake up receiving over like 200 messages. So it's really fun to be there. And if you want to join, just visit our website. And as mentioned, GitHub, we have so many repositories over there. Community is really highlighting their work. And I want to actually highlight the Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange, because these are support platforms that you are using constantly. And we are obviously, as developer relations, as our team, we're trying to answer all the questions. But what we keep seeing there is that some of the rock stars in our community keep answering each other, keep supporting each other, like they are just there owning this and doing an amazing job, and which is actually inspiring us, which has been inspiring us a lot. So with that, we actually created some program to recognize these people. The next slide. So we wanted to launch this program that we're launching today to celebrate these rock stars, the champions in our community, because you've been doing an amazing job. You're supporting everyone. You're helping people upskill themselves. And we wanted to actually get better at recognizing you. So moving on to the next slide, we are now announcing Chainlink Developer Experts Program, which is something that is going to highlight these rock stars in our community, that is going to help our community get better. And we are looking for new developer experts. We actually have been grateful to pick some of 4 experts from our existing community advocates program, because that's an amazing program. If you're not part of it, you might want to be checking that out. We picked these 4 people, and they are actually doing some works on translating the bootcamp, etc. So now we're looking for a lot more people to scale whatever we're doing. So we want you to apply scanning that QR code. You should apply if you are someone who's passionate about our technology and who's really expert in whatever we're building, all our products. And you should be applying if you're someone who actually likes to help fellow community members, because we do think that is like one of the core values that you should have to become a developer expert, because it's mostly about caring and advocating for the technology. And if you should apply if you're someone who is very comfortable with writing technical blog posts or like doing podcasts or videos, whatever you choose. So we really want you to apply. Just please do so. And because we right now, when we look at our community, we want it to grow a lot bigger. And we also want it to become, we want to have representatives all over the globe. We right now have folks from Argentina, Turkey, Germany, and Switzerland. So we want to make sure that we cover almost every country. So with that, I want to move on to the next slide. And I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for bearing with us. And thank you so much for doing an amazing job during this year. You inspire us every single day. So if we want to do better for you, if you are missing out on anything, if you're not doing a good job on anything, just reach out to me and you will get a cat or dog picture too with a reply. So with that, I'm happy to hand it over to Patrick, who's going to talk about some technical updates, features, and maybe some event announcements.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melody, and thank you for the update on the community here. And yeah, I just wanted to double down on what Melody was saying there. Everybody who's here, everybody who's watching, I've had the luxury of being able to meet all of you, or excuse me, not all of you. I've had the luxury of being able to meet some of you, not quite all of you. I would love to meet all of you soon at some point. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. There's no way any of this would happen without the community, right? We work in this decentralized, this open source community, this environment, which is wildly different from kind of the traditional company world. And it's amazing that we can actually come together, collaborate, and build these amazing tools and push this entire industry forward together. So additional thank you from myself. And with that being said, let's go into some new features, right? Let's talk about some of the fantastic tools that have come out that make your lives as developers even easier so that we can build new things, so we can do new things, because that's what we're here for, right? We're here because we can build these amazing tools. We can build this new future. We can build this new world. And we want all the tools. We want everything at our disposal. So we go out and we can do that. So we're going to talk about some of the new features that Chainlink has come out with recently that's going to make your lives as a developer more fun, more exciting, and give you the power to build these unlimitedly customizable smart contracts. And to start off, let's start by talking a little bit about the data and the data feeds, right? Because traditionally, when we talk about oracles, that's the first thing that comes to mind is data, data feeds, price feeds. And as we know, this is just a subsection of all the things that oracles can do, but it's an incredibly big piece, right? There's over $50 billion in total assets being secured by these price feeds in the DeFi world, right? You see protocols like Aave, Synthetics, using these price feeds to price underlying collateral to do all these amazing things in DeFi. And these price feeds are on a multitude of these L1s, including Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, XDAI, Avalanche, all these different platforms that allow you as a smart contract engineer to build really cool, really powerful applications that can affect and change our everyday lives. Additionally, they're being rolled out on some L2s as we speak, which is incredibly, incredibly exciting. As we know, this is a huge scalability upgrade for our entire industry. Speaking of L2s, one of the first new releases that I want to talk about is what's called the L2 Sequencer Health Flag, coming very soon. These are absolutely wild. These are absolutely fantastic. L2s are these fantastic tools, as we know, these rollups like Arbitrum and Optimism. They're giving us this scalability power that we desperately need. However, they do rely on these sequencers, right? These sequencers to make sure that everything is going well from the rollups from the L2s to the L1s. Now, what happens if these sequencers stop? And that is kind of an issue that a lot of these applications run into. Okay, if I have this multi-chain application and I have half of my smart contracts on an L1, the other half on an L2, what happens if the L2 sequencer stops updating? Am I just bunked? Can people be malicious? Can people attack my code? And this is where these health flags actually come into play here. So I have a quick bit of code here just to show you exactly what this looks like. Basically, for those of you who have seen kind of the price feed code, this is basically how you set up a Chainlink price feed in a smart contract. What you can have now is what's called these flags, these Arbitrum flags, or these flags for whatever L2. And basically, right before you do a call, you check to see if this flag is raised down here, right? So this is this section down here. If the flag is raised, then you can just revert. Right? If the flag is raised, you can revert. If your application is multi-chain, this will be an essential security feature for making sure that you stay secure on this new multi-chain world, especially with rollups. So this is incredibly exciting. And it's as easy as doing just a quick if statement. If is raised. Documentation for this is coming out very soon and is one of the features I am very excited for, especially as we try to go more and more multi-chain. I've been playing with Arbitrum and Optimism myself, and I'm loving what's going on. And this is just going to make that ease of use and that ease from a developer side even better. Additionally, with data feeds, here is a fun little GIF of me. It's going kind of quick, of me scrolling through the Aave GitHub. Now, for a lot of you who have been working with the Chainlink price feeds or Chainlink data feeds, know that there is a little bit of work of keeping all the data feeds in a config file, right? And having to kind of go through this giant config file of, okay, here are all the price feeds, here's what's going on. And this has been great and it's worked well, but we're engineers, right? We want to make our jobs as easy as possible. We want to automate everything if possible. I don't want to have to write the address of a price feed. And this is why the Chainlink protocol has come out with what's called the feeds registry. So now instead of having to have these giant config files, you can just have this on-chain feeds contract registry where you can make calls to it and get the price feed associated with it. So let's do an example of this as well. We go to the Chainlink documentation. We'll scroll down. Let me show you what previously it would look like for you to make a price feed call. So this is a price feed consumer contract. It's using the Chainlink price feeds to get what it looks like FUSD in here. And the way that you do it is you use an interface and you just pop the address of that price feed address, right? And again, you can go to data.chain.link. Data.chain.link. You can see exactly what these price feeds are doing, what the nodes are on the back end. Incredibly powerful. We can go down to, that's the keepers page. We can go down to the contract addresses to see these addresses, and this works great. However, there's the improvement here is instead of having to do that, is we can have the code now just look something like this. So we'll just say registry, that latest round data, and then you say denominations.eth, denominations.usd. There's this new denominations library that gives you addresses based off of even tokens that aren't even tokens. So USD, for example, obviously doesn't have a token address, but we can still grab this pair just using this denomination. All you need to do is have the single registry address, and then you can have access to every single price feed that you want. So this makes our lives much easier. We no longer have to have this giant config file, and it is a wonderful developer improvement here. And I'm really excited to see all the things people build with this registry, with this feeds registry moving forward. So absolutely fantastic. Large responses and multi-variables. So recently, getting data on chain has been kind of tricky, right? Because if you were to put on a gigabyte of data, I think you would bankrupt entire countries, right? Because putting a lot of data on chain is incredibly expensive. So there's been a little bit of trickiness to kind of get these large pieces on. Recently, Chainlink has developed a way to get this large data and multi-responses from an API easily into your smart contracts. So those of you who have worked with it know that you can not only get data feeds, you can get keepers, you can get random numbers, you can also make any type of HTTP GET, HTTP POST, you can make any API call in your smart contracts. And additionally, what you can do is return any type of data back to your contract. So let's do an example of returning a massive string into our smart contract so we can do something really cool with that string. Welcome back to Remix. Love working with Remix here. And here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be making this API call here. So it's just a typical HTTP GET call, and it's calling an IPFS node that I set up specifically for this demo here. It's got this image bytes object. So this is a bytes object that returns an image URL. So for those of you who are familiar with image URLs, you know that this is a key piece to NFTs and working with NFTs. So we have this bytes encoded URL, and I want to get it into my smart contract. So maybe I can use the CID for an IPFS hash, or maybe a Filecoin hash, or connect to some D-storage or something like that. Whatever I want to do. In any case, all we have to do now is exactly the same as what we've done before with working with Chainlink. But instead of returning a bytes 32, we can just return an arbitrary bytes object that is any size. So let's go ahead and compile this contract, and we'll deploy this onto the Coven chain, and we'll get the response, and we'll see if we can actually read the URL right off the chain. So I got some Coven ETH here. We're going to deploy our generic big word contract here. MetaMask is going to pop up, confirm, and we're going to have to fund this. Again, for those of you who are a little bit unfamiliar with how the Chainlink request and receive model works, I'm going to fund this with some Chainlink token. So I'm going to copy the address, send it a little bit, definitely overkill with one here, because I think the fee is like 0.01 or something like that. We'll send it some of this link token, and then we can make an API call to these Chainlink nodes, and they will respond with this URL. Again, this is absolutely massive, because now we can store these mappings to IPFS. We can store massive pieces of data. We can do really whatever we want to do here. Just keep in mind when you're doing this, of course, don't store a gigabyte of a response of an API, because you will go bankrupt very quickly. So we'll call our request bytes here. And as we're waiting, our data and our image URL view variables are going to be blank, right? Because we need to make that first call to the Chainlink node, and it's going to respond with our image URL, and with our data here. So once the node processes our call and responds, it's going to say, hey, here's your data. Thank you so much. Appreciate the call here. And we'll be able to actually use this string in our smart contract for, like I said, for whatever we want to do. And there's a little bit of an Easter egg based off of this hex here. If any of you can parse hex in your head, type in the chat what you think this is. Although none of you can parse hex in your head, but some of you are quick, you might be actually able to do it with some screenshots and copy paste. In any case, the Chainlink node responded, and we have this giant bytes object in here now. And now we can check the image URL because we just cached this bytes object as a string. And we get this wonderful IPFS URL. And let's take a look at what this is. And it's this beautiful, sunny Chainlink logo. Isn't that adorable? Some of you might have recognized that Chainlink logo from a previous event that we've been in the past. If you know what that event is, drop it in the chat. I'll take a look at the chat later. So that's the multi-word demo. In the large responses, you can get these large responses and also multiple variables in a JSON object, which is incredibly powerful and incredibly exciting. Moving on to more exciting releases and more exciting features. There's so many exciting features and releases. Keeper's general availability. I believe this was talked about a lot yesterday, which is incredibly exciting. And this is one of these things that allows us to do so much more. It's one of these external computation. It's one of these event-driven metrics that we've never been able to do before in a decentralized context, which is incredibly powerful. The way that it works is we have some smart contract, right? And the Chainlink Keepers networks is constantly calling this function called check upkeep on our contracts. And it's just checking. It's just saying, hey, is that event ready? Is that event ready? Is that event ready? Because we're looking for some event to kick off the Keeper network. Right now, if I want something to programmatically update, I need to write a script myself that monitors the blockchain. And that's obviously incredibly centralized and doesn't really scale very well if I'm looking to make it dApp. The Keeper network will be that human being, will be that network that's sitting behind, constantly checking, and then calling a function and creating a transaction for us. And it allows your smart contracts to really do anything because of the way that it's built to be incredibly flexible and customizable to return data and return some type of computation in any way you like. So this is this very powerful event-driven application, decentralized event-driven smart contracts, which is incredibly fun. Now I have a little demo here just to show what this is doing. So I have a typical NFT contract here, but the NFT contract needs Chainlink tokens because it is a verifiably random NFT contract here. So NFTs get minted based off this verifiably random application. But what happens if the link balance drops to zero? No more NFTs can be minted. Right? And this obviously is terrible for anybody who's looking to use the platform. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Chainlink Keepers to constantly top this up with Link to make sure that people can continue to mint their NFTs. And again, this is just an example of the Chainlink Keepers. You can use this for literally any use case you like. So let's do this live. We'll do Brownie, run scripts. We'll do not deploy mocks. We're going to deploy the collectible, and we'll do deploy.py. Network Coven. And there's a little bit of Python here, but typically what I do when I deploy one of these NFT contracts is I fund them with Link. I have intentionally commented out the funding with Link, so it's going to start with 0 Link. This contract has no Link, so no NFTs can be minted. Boo-hoo, so sad. I know, I'm so sorry, but I'm not, because the Keeper network is going to do this for us. I've added to this application a backup contract, a backup wallet that is going to allow the Keeper network to send funds from my backup wallet to this NFT contract. So we're going to head and deploy this on the Coven network. And we've got to compile and get all the cool Coven stuff. Great, we're sending this to Coven. And like I said, we aren't going to, let me grab the address here. We aren't going to have this contract have any link to start with, which means nobody can mint any NFTs. So let's go to the Coven Etherscan here, and let's take a look at this contract that we just deployed. So we have this contract. This is an NFT contract, has no link, it has no nothing in it, and we've given the Keeper registry access to a wallet that has some testnet link in it. And in my contract, in my advanced collectible, whoops, that's the README. I have this check upkeep function that's defined. Let's scroll down to it. Let's see what it looks like. All it's doing is checking to see what the link token balance is. It's saying, hey, if the link token balance is less than 2, do something, return true. And once it returns true, the keeper nodes go, okay, now we need to perform some upkeep. They call this perform upkeep function. And all it is it is a token transfer. So you can see right here, this is incredibly customizable, that the check upkeep function can be whatever you want it to be, and so can the perform upkeep. Again, this is in this decentralized context. So what we're going to do is we're going to register this contract with the keeper's registry here. So we're going to connect our wallet to the UI here. This is a UI for an on-chain contract here. We're going to confirm, we're going to connect here, and we're going to go ahead and register a new upkeep. So we're going to put some email address in. I'll be patrick.collins@chainlinklabs.com. We'll do an upkeep name. I'll call this NFT SmartCon. We'll pass this address in here, which I think I lost my copy paste. So we'll copy it again, pass this address in here. We'll do a gas limit, which is approximately how much gas this should cost. We don't have a check data. Check the documentation for what this check data does. And we'll give it a starting balance of 5 link. So we need to fund our registry because we need to pay the Chainlink Keeper Network link to work with this. So we have 2 different fundings, right? We are funding the registry application. We're not funding our NFT. So let's go ahead and register this upkeep. MetaMask pops up, says, are you sure you want to do this? We have this transaction that's going to come through, and this will actually register our upkeep. Now you'll see when we get to the, once this finishes registering, we could see on chain. I'm just going to do everything through the UI here, but we'll see the amount that we have funded with our registry application. Great. Let's go ahead and view the upkeep here. We'll see we have this balance here of 5 link. This is how much our keeper is currently funded with to do this execution. And if we look at our NFT contract right now, it's still going to stay as 0. And once the keeper network picks up and says, okay, we have a new registry here, we have a new registered upkeep, it's going to go ahead and start calling check upkeep and then perform upkeep. Again, the check upkeep is going to say, hey, what's the link balance here? What's the link balance here? And then if the link balance is lower than this, which it is right now, it's 0, it's going to go ahead and start sending us some link, which is really exciting. So if I hit a refresh here in a minute, we'll see this actually update. So a little bit about the keepers. They actually call this check up. It looks like it's updating right now. It actually calls this check upkeep function every X amount of blocks, depending on the network, which is really exciting. And you can see live the balance actually starting to go down. So this is the balance of my NFT registry. And if we go over to my contract, and we do a little refresh here, we can see the Chainlink token balance actually going up. So this is the Keeper Network actively funding my smart contract without me having to do anything. I'm totally hands off here. This is decentralized, doing some event-driven activities. And if we hit refresh again, let's see if it sent more tokens. Okay, it didn't send more tokens yet, but it looks like it just updated again. So if we hit refresh again, it'll send some tokens. But you can see that's how it actually works live on the back end, which is incredibly exciting. Don't you love it when live demos work too? That's the best. So that's that application. And now we can go ahead and call this minting function on these NFTs because we know we have this minimum threshold because we got the Chainlink Keepers got our back. The Chainlink Keepers got our back. So, which is incredibly exciting. Some more absolutely fantastic applications. Oh, sorry, there's a train outside, I guess. If you guys can hear that. So some more wonderful advents in this space. So for those of you who have worked with the Chainlink/contracts NPM package, the Brownie package has actually now been updated to constantly mirror that. So if you're working with Python, if you're working with JavaScript, it doesn't matter. The tools are going to be exactly the same, which is incredibly exciting. And speaking of Brownie, JavaScript, and Python, the Solidity and Smart Contract Starter Kits are absolutely must see for those of you looking to start building one of these smart contract applications. Whether it's Truffle, Brownie, Hardhat, any of these fantastic tools that makes our lives as smart contract developers easier, there are starter kits that have all these technologies built in as a starting point, as a piece of boilerplate code to get you into the action ASAP. You can just do a fork on these. We have a ton of videos on these showing you how to walk through them, what they're actually doing. I highly recommend, if you're looking to start a new project, checking out these starter kits, because your life is going to be substantially easier as a developer. Faucets. Faucets are a wonderful thing that we have in the smart contract world that makes doing our integration tests a lot easier, right? So you'll see later when I do my productivity presentation later, we don't always want to work with test nets because they are a little bit slower, and we do have to wait a little bit. We can't iterate as quickly, but we still do want to work with them because we want to make sure our integration tests work. We want to make sure that the contracts are actually going to, act in the way that we expect them to. Faucets have been this point of contention because we're always asking, hey, where can we get some testnet ETH for Coven, for Rinkeby, for whatever? If you head over to the link token contracts page, the most up-to-date faucets will always be underneath the testnet. So if you're looking for some type of testnet ETH, testnet link, come to the link token contracts page. You can check out Coven, Rinkeby, etc. There's obviously, of course, the testnet link page that gives us some testnet link, but we also have, example for Coven, a testnet ETH page, which looks just like the link page, which you'll pop your address in, you'll say send me 0.1 test ETH, and you'll get some test ETH. So if you're looking for where these up-to-date faucets are, always check the link token contracts, because it's gonna be the place that has all the faucets, and it's gonna make your life a lot easier. Faucets, absolutely fantastic. So, we've talked about a lot of fantastic things here. We've talked about a lot of wonderful new features, and I was nervous I wasn't going to get through them all because there's so many things making our lives so much better. Now let's talk a little bit about the future and the different pieces that are to come. Because again, the reason that we're here is because we're building this better world, right? With hybrid smart contracts that are combining this on-chain, this wonderful advent of smart contracts and blockchain technology with this off-chain data, this off-chain computation to make unlimitedly customizable applications, right? And really do anything that we want to do. So as we've seen, we're working with this one of the main stakes here is this incredibly highly validated data, right? These data feeds that are being used by these giant billion-dollar protocols like Aave, like Synthetics, like Compound. These absolutely massive DeFi protocols being powered by this. However, like I said, oracles do so much more than just data. An oracle is any device that connects a blockchain, connects your smart contract platform to anything off-chain, be it data, be it execution, whatever you want. It's that bridge, it's that connection piece. So highly validated data, that is the low-hanging fruit. That is the tip of the iceberg here. As I just showed with keepers, there's more of this off-chain computation coming to make our lives as developer easier. We've seen work with the Chainlink VRF. I didn't show it here, but the Chainlink VRF to get truly random numbers. The keepers allows for maintenance bots, allows for these upkeeps to happen, allows us to do this event-driven work. More of this expanded computation coming down the pipeline, giving us the tools, giving us the power to connect these smart contracts to the real world. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we want to do. These smart contracts are cool, right? They're absolutely fantastic. And on-chain token transfers is great, but we want them to actually affect our everyday lives. We want them to be these digitally superior agreements. We want them to actually be able to have some agreement that can cross over from this walled garden that is smart contracts, that is blockchain. So there's more and more of these features coming out, more blockchain support, more smart contract platforms to work on that are both EVM and non-EVM chains. So Stephen talked a little bit about Rust, for example. There's some fantastic Rust smart contract platforms that are becoming more and more Chainlink compatible as we speak. Yesterday, one of the big pieces that was announced was the cross-chain messaging, the cross-chain interoperability protocol, which is going to be absolutely bonkers to be able to work with any chain you want seamlessly, working with these different bridges, these token bridges. A Chainlink VRF2 is in the pipeline for more subscription-based Chainlink VRF for confirmations, for some more randomness expansion built in, node as a service. There are all these features that are coming down the pipeline, and we're beyond excited for. And now, Melodi teased this a little bit. We are incredibly excited to be announcing the date of our Chainlink hackathon, our next Chainlink hackathon. This is going to be our largest hackathon ever, and it's going to be October 22nd is going to be the start date. So mark your calendars, because this is going to be a wild hackathon. Be sure to sign up for our developer newsletters to be one of the first to sign up. So for those of you who didn't attend the last one, Melodi gave a quick recap, but I'd like to go in a couple of those features as well. Some of these hackathon products have gone on to raise millions in seed rounds, right? So not only have a ton of new people come into the space with these Chainlink hackathons, but a ton of people in the space have gone on to do amazing things. Something that I love pointing out here is that Mark Cuban became an advisor to one of the winning projects of the Chainlink hackathon. Some of these are real projects really going out and doing amazing things. So if you want to kickstart, if you want to jumpstart your career here, if you're saying, hey, I've learned Solidity, what do I do next? 1,000% be sure to go to this Chainlink hackathon, because the tools, the community, the networking at this event is absolutely insane. So I wrote here half the attendees. I think Melodi was correct with it being about 30% of the attendees are new to the space. So even if you're like, whoa, Patrick, that sounds crazy. That sounds intense. I'm not ready to do all that. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. If you're new to the space, welcome you with open arms. This is one of the most welcoming communities I've ever been a part of, and encourage you to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give that a shot. I'm going to try this out. I'm going to try this hackathon out. I might be a little bit nervous with my skills. I feel like I have imposter syndrome. Don't worry. That is the perfect place to be, and you're going to be well received, because a lot of people are feeling the same way. So feel free to just show up, try to do whatever you want to do. You can go as far or as not far as you like. This is an opportunity not only to kickstart and go far into the future, but also just get started and dip your toes in. So wherever you want to be. We're planning on having 3 tracks based off of this narrative that I just mentioned. The first one being kind of a going mainnet bounties. These are for engineers looking to get in front of VCs, go mainnet as soon as possible. We're of course going to have our traditional bounties. This is for sponsor prizes, DeFi bounties, NFT bounties, Chainlink services, which is going to be absolutely massive. People looking to expand on the Chainlink network and build new tools and build and tinker and study and try to come up with the next keepers or the next Chainlink VRF or the next service, the next data DAO or something like that. These are for people looking to explore, use these hackathons as a method of learning and growing and networking. And then, of course, the getting started bounties for engineers who say, hey, I'm a little bit nervous, and they maybe just need that little kick to say, you know what, we know you're nervous, but you're welcome here, and we'd love you to come and try and just have fun and have a blast. So these are going to be the 3 tracks of that Chainlink hackathon that I'm incredibly excited to work with. Now, basically to close out this talk, just talk a little bit about why engineers love working with Chainlink and why I love working with Chainlink. There's this unmatched security. There are unlimited possibilities. The customization that you can do combining your decentralized on-chain and your decentralized off-chain is literally limitless. I say this a lot, but when it comes to these hackathons and when it comes to Chainlink, you're really only limited by your creativity, which is something not a lot of industries can say. Chainlink is this dev-first experience. I'm an engineer. Pretty much everyone I talk with and everyone I interact with is engineers, and we care. We want you, everyone. We want the community to be able to go out there and be empowered to build these fantastic things. This dev-first experience I absolutely love, and we're here to support you and give this accelerated momentum to build and do whatever you want to do. So this is the Chainlink journey that we as a community are on, that you are on. We've started with price feeds. We started in this first wave. We're moving more towards data feeds, the data marketplace, the randomness, keepers. We're getting more and more of these tools to go more mainstream, order fairness, advanced off-chain computation, full support of all data. Also, we can transform the world, make it more economically fair, give more economic equality, opportunity for everybody, and rebuild institutional trust along on this journey with amazing opportunities in every facet and every walk of life. So with all that being said, I want to give a huge absolutely massive thank you to everybody who's watching, everybody who's been a part of this community, everyone who's not watching, everybody who's made an issue, maybe dropped into the Discord, maybe said hello somewhere. I want to say a massive, massive thank you. And definitely 100% subscribe to the latest Chainlink developer news. If you head over to docs.chain.link, scroll to the bottom, there is a little sign up here. This will give you guys the most up-to-date pieces of information, including the hackathon registration, which will be coming out on that email thread. So you definitely want to be one of the first ones to sign up there and get involved and hear about these new opportunities and these new things coming down the pipeline. So thank you everybody so much for being here. We have an amazing journey ahead of us. We have amazing things to build, and I'm excited for us all to be a part of it and work towards this future. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melodi. And thank you so much, Patrick, for your awesome update on Chainlink. I was watching the chat and I heard a ton of call outs about the love for the Chainlink community. Developers are really excited about the feeds registry and keepers. And everyone was also asking about the link to register for the hackathon. So I know there's a lot of excitement about that.